All right, after 2 weeks of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, this video is going to explain to you how both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are trying to win their case. My name is Nathan Laurie. If you are new here, we talk about the law and the facts. If you're about that life, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. All right, from the state of Virginia, Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard. Now, this case is simple. This case is about defamation. And simply put, the question here that we all must answer is, did Johnny Depp abuse his ex-wife, Amber Heard? I don't care what anybody's telling you. This is the main question of this case. Now, if the answer to this question is yes, then Johnny Depp loses his defamation case. And if the answer to this question is no, then Johnny Depp will win his action. So because the question is about abuse, let's start simply. Let's define abuse and what abuse is in a domestic relationship. Abuse, verb, to treat a person or animal with cruelty or violence, especially regularly or repeatedly. And as an example, they put riders who abuse their horses should be prosecuted. So that's what abuse means as a verb. Second, abuse definition, noun, cruel and violent treatment of a person or animal. So now that we have the dictionary definition of the term abuse, what is domestic abuse? Well, for that, let's go to the professionals. The state of Virginia takes this more expansive view of what domestic violence is. Here is the state's attorney general's website that lists various forms of domestic abuse. And as you can see from the attorney general's website, domestic abuse encompasses physical violence, emotional abuse, sexual assault, economic control, and neglect. So as you can see, the state of Virginia recognizes this expansive view of abuse or domestic violence. So now we understand what domestic abuse or domestic violence is in this context in this particular state. So now that we have a clear understanding of what abuse is, let's now evaluate the plaintiff's side, Johnny Depp's side, to see what he's going to have to show to win this cause of action. Now, the first place we need to start is that Johnny Depp is essentially trying to prove a negative. So what do I mean by proving a negative? Well, to try to prove a negative essentially means you're trying to prove the non-existence of something, even though it's possible. Let me give you an example. If I were to ask you to prove to me that there were no aliens on the planet TRAPPIST-3. Now, TRAPPIST-3 is a real exoplanet and it orbits a star about 50 light years from Earth. And the planet TRAPPIST-3 is within the star's habitable zone. So based on the best information we have now, it is possible that there is life on that planet, TRAPPIST-3. But can you prove that there is no life on that planet? Now, based on our current level of technology, it's possible that there could be life on the planet TRAPPIST-3, but is there any way that you can prove that there is no life on that planet? Based on what we know now, there's no way to prove it true or false. And this essentially is the issue with proving a negative. Now, I want to be very clear because this is important. Generally, you can't prove a negative. But there are two exceptions to this general rule. The first exception is evaluation. For instance, here is a negative that I can prove. If I were to say there are no Muslims serving as U.S. senators in the United States Senate. Well, that's a negative, right? I'm saying I want to prove that there is the non-existence of Muslim U.S. senators. But this statement we can evaluate to see if that's actually true, right? There's only 100 U.S. senators. We can look them up and say, hey, currently, there are no Muslims serving as United States senators. Now, obviously, this is different than the claim that there are no aliens on TRAPPIST-3 because we can't evaluate whether that's true or not. We're here when it comes to U.S. senators, we can evaluate that. And that's our first exception. Now, the second exception is contradiction or impossibility. I really call it the impossibility exception. Here is an example. There are no squared circles. Well, squared circles are impossible because if something is either a square or a circle, it can't be both. So if you show that something is impossible, then inherently you can prove that it doesn't exist. You can prove that negative. And if we go back to my example with the planet TRAPPIST-3 and there being no life on TRAPPIST-3, what this means is because it's possible that there could be life on that planet, then it wouldn't fall into this exemption. Now, it's important to understand this is the reason why in American law, we don't force people to prove their innocence in criminal court. Now, this is because if the person is actually innocent, then we would be making them prove a negative, right? If they didn't steal the stuff, if they didn't kill the person, then they would have to prove the non-existence of something. which is extremely hard, as you've just seen. So the law assigns a presumption of innocence, forcing the government to prove the person's guilt. That's why you're innocent until proven guilty. So now in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case, Johnny Depp has to prove that he did not abuse Amber, which in of itself is very difficult to do. But it's not impossible. So now we've gotten over Johnny Depp having to prove a negative. Now let's talk about how I believe Johnny Depp's legal team is going to try to prove this negative. First, for Johnny Depp to win, he needs the definition of abuse to be as limited as possible. Johnny Depp would prefer, and his legal team would prefer, that domestic abuse be limited to physical abuse. The broader definition of abuse makes it more likely for Mr. Depp to lose. See, Amber Heard is claiming that she was abused, and that definition includes physical abuse, emotional abuse, threats of violence, as we saw before. And this broader definition makes it harder for Johnny Depp to conclusively prove that he didn't abuse her. He didn't threaten her. Even if he was to prove ultimately that he didn't commit any physical violence, there are different ways in which you can abuse your spouse other than physically. Now, if Johnny Depp's team is successful in limiting what counts as abuse, he still now has to overcome the burden of proving that he did not abuse Amber. And this is what his team is trying to do to overcome that burden. First, they're going to appeal to character evidence that Johnny Depp is a good person and has been a good person for all these years. They're showing that he's never had any other issues of domestic violence in the past with his ex-wife, ex-girlfriends, and that he has a good reputation with his friends, family, and even employees. So in this trial, Johnny Depp's best friend was on the stand to testify how much of a great guy Johnny Depp is and how he is not violent at all. They also brought one of Johnny Depp's family members in to also testify to his good nature and good character. Each one of his employees that have testified has also testified to Johnny Depp's good nature and good character. And even a former employee of Amber Heard testified to Johnny's good character, to his nonviolent nature, and to Amber Heard's violent nature. Now, this is Johnny Depp's first line of proof. The fact that all these people have said that Johnny is a good guy and that he's never been violent with Amber Heard. He is a good character. The second way he's trying to prove that he never abused Amber Heard outside the character evidence is that Johnny Depp is going to show that the specific instances that Amber points to show that she was abused were fake and false. For instance, that Amber allegedly marked her face up with fake bruises. If Johnny Depp is able to show that that incident was manufactured and fake, then it's going to be more likely that the jury believes that all these other things that Amber is claiming is also fake. And last but not least, to prove that Johnny Depp did not abuse Amber Heard, Johnny's team is showing that Amber Heard was actually the abuser in the relationship. For instance, they showed how Amber severed his finger, how they showed photos of when Johnny Depp was abused by Amber, cuts on the face, marks. They even have Amber admitting to hitting Johnny, punching Johnny, and being physically violent with Mr. Depp. Now, Johnny Depp's team is hoping that all this would be enough to prove that he never abused Amber Heard and that he was defamed when she said it. And last but not least, Johnny Depp says he has 87 videos, police reports, and other witness accounts of these particular events that Amber Heard has pointed to saying that he abused her that are going to contradict these things altogether. So with all of this together, Johnny Depp is hoping that the jury will see what he's presented and come to the conclusion that he never abused Amber Heard. Now, that's what Johnny Depp's team is doing to try to win this case. So now let's move on to the defendant Amber Heard's defense and see what she's trying to do to prove her side of the case. So now where Johnny Depp's legal team has to prove that these things did not happen, Amber Heard's team has the opposite responsibility of having to prove that some abuse did occur. Now, obviously, Amber Heard's team is going to want the expanded definition of abuse. She wants to point to physical abuse, like Johnny Depp saying that he headbutted her. She wants to point to sexual abuse. She wants to point to mental, psychological, and emotional abuse. She wants to point to verbal abuse. She wants financial abuse. She wants all of this to count as abuse. And the more things that she can add into that pie, the more likely it is that the jury is going to find that, hey, there may not be physical abuse, but there is some verbal or emotional abuse. And does that count as domestic abuse? In Virginia, it may. So just simply put, Amber Heard's team is claiming that not only did Johnny Depp physically abuse her. But if you don't buy the physical abuse, you still have threats and verbal abuse. That's all recognized as domestic violence in Virginia. And that if that's the case, then she has proven that she was abused and that the statements that she made about being an abuse survivor are accurate. Now, Amber's statements, the ones that she's being sued over, are very specific to domestic abuse and being an abuse survivor. And this is the reason why Johnny Depp is suing her, because he's saying that you didn't suffer any abuse, as we've been saying throughout this video. So by using this expanded definition of abuse, this gives more bites to the apple for Amber's team to prove that she was being truthful when she reported these instances of abuse. Now, even if you don't buy the physical abuse claims, there are other types of abuse. Now, Amber Heard also has some other ways where she's trying, or her legal team is trying, to prove that Johnny was abusive. First, she's pointing to the fact that Johnny Depp was a drug addict and he had blackouts and that he didn't remember some of the things that he did while he was intoxicated, that he was violent while he was intoxicated, and that there may be times that he abused her and did not remember. They also are going to point to Johnny Depp's writings, that he wanted to kill her and have sex with the dead body. They're also pointing to recordings where Johnny seems to suggest that he physically abused Amber, but doesn't outright say it. And then last but not least, they are trying to point to character evidence, friends and family of Amber, who shows that she's a good person and that she's been in relationships and that she's never had domestic violence abuse allegations before. So now we're at the end of this video, and you now understand technically what Johnny Depp is trying to prove to win this case and what Amber Heard is trying to prove to win this case. Essentially, what this case comes down to is, what is domestic abuse? Let me know in the comment section, who do you think has the stronger case going into week 3 of the trial? My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you next time. Peace.